everyone. Welcome back to The Victim's Voice. I am your host, Lorelei. On this week's episode, we are going to do something different. We're going to talk about a case that has just recently been on the news and circulated around on social media. This will be a shorter episode, but I feel this needs to be addressed because this shit is happening way too often. This story is out of Pontiac, Michigan, and it has my blood boiling. A so-called mother, if that's what you want to call her, abandoned her 3 children in a home back in 2020, around the time that the pandemic started. The boy was 10 years old and the 2 girls were 7 and 8 years old. They were kept in this home for 5 years and were just found this February in 2025. When first responders arrived, they were horrified at the conditions that these kids were forced to live in. Why? I just want to know why mothers do these things to their children and what could have possibly been her end game. How could she go to bed at night knowing that her children were suffering and that it was her fault? I'm going to begin by reading the statement that was issued by the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. This is dated February 16th of 2025. A Pontiac mother who abandoned her 3 children for years, leaving them to live alone in absolute squalor and survive only on weekly drop-offs of prepared food, was arrested Friday by Oakland County Sheriff's Office deputies. The 34-year-old mother, who is not being identified as she shares the same name as one of her children, is being held in the Oakland County Jail. Detectives are expected to turn the case over to prosecutors for review in the next few days. Sheriff Michael Bouchard said the conditions in which the children were forced to survive were unconscionable. Quote, "Throughout my extensive career in this field, I have never encountered a scenario as dire and prolonged as this one, involving abandonment, neglect, and abuse of the highest order. This situation would be deemed deplorable and intolerable for an animal, and it is utterly unacceptable for 3 children. They have been deprived of any interaction with their mother and have not received an education for years. The far-reached consequences of this abuse must be acknowledged. We look forward to presenting this case to the prosecutor and ensuring that this mother faces the consequences of her actions." End quote. The children, a 15-year-old boy and his 2 sisters, ages 12 and 13, have been placed in custody of a relative by Child Protective Services. Deputies were called to a home in the 600 block of Lydia Lane on Friday afternoon to perform a welfare check on the occupants of the home. The landlord contacted deputies after he had not heard from the mother since December. Rent was last paid in October, and he was concerned something may have happened. Upon their arrival, deputies found a home in deplorable shape. Garbage was piled as high as 4 feet in some rooms. Mold and human waste was found throughout, with the toilet overflowing and feces in the bathtub. Deputies checked the residence for occupants and found the boy and his sisters. The girls had locked themselves in the bathroom, but opened the door when asked. The boy said he and his sisters lived alone in the home, as his mother had abandoned them in 2020 or 2021. They survived on the prepared food their mother or a stranger would leave on the front porch each week. The mother did not leave toilet paper or personal hygiene items. The mother had contact with the boy, but it appeared she had not seen the girls in years. The scene was processed by an evidence technician wearing a hazmat suit. The children had not attended school since their abandonment, passing the time watching television or playing games. It appeared the girls had not been outside the home for several years. The boy slept on a mattress on the floor, while the girls slept on pizza boxes. Neighbors told deputies they were unaware the children lived in the home and never saw them outside. They did see the mother drop things off at the home each month. The children were taken to the hospital for evaluation. They were wearing soiled clothing, their hair was matted, and their toenails were several inches long, making it difficult to walk. It appeared the children were unfamiliar with how to use personal hygiene items or knew how to flush a toilet. The mother was found at another location and arrested without incident. She said the father of the children was not involved in their lives. And by the way, they have now released the 34-year-old mother's name, and I have no problem telling everyone who this piece of trash is. Her name is Kelly Bryant. Detectives stated that the now 15-year-old boy had told them about 2 times he had left the apartment over the 5-year period. Once to check the mail, and once because he wanted to touch the grass. While this so called mother was out living her best life, pretending that she didn't have any responsibilities, her son just wanted to go outside and touch the grass. That is soul shattering. The stranger that they mentioned delivering food to the home was DoorDash. The mom couldn't even be bothered to make sure the kids had food. She had DoorDash do it. When they were first abandoned at the home, the kids ate a lot of Little Caesars pizza. The boxes were seen being carried out, and the girls had used the pizza boxes as makeshift beds. And Little Caesars, I guarantee they were getting the lukewarm pre-made $5 pizzas. She couldn't even get them something good like Papa John's. Over time, however, the food started slowing down, and so did the quality of the food. By the end, a loaf of bread would be dropped off, and it would have to last the children 4 or 5 days. One loaf of bread between 3 kids for almost a week. It was also discovered that while her children lived in squalor and were eating a loaf of bread for dinner, Kelly had been very active on Facebook, live streaming food giveaways to others in need. The audacity is all I can say. The statement said that she had limited contact with the boy, but not any contact with the girls since she had abandoned them 5 years before. But I don't think she actually even seen the boy because it was later stated that she communicated with him through a cell phone she had given him, and he was only to call her when they needed more food and for nothing else. And then, if she felt like it, she would bring the kids more food. And if she didn't feel like it, she would call DoorDash. Kelly also made the statement that the father was not involved in their lives, but this isn't totally true. It was found that during the time she abandoned the children in 2020, the father was incarcerated. But upon his release, he filed paperwork with the Michigan courts asking for visitation of his children. It was granted in 2022, yet Kelly still refused to give him access to the kids. But why? Obviously, she didn't want the kids or want to take care of them because she abandoned them. So why not just let the father take them instead of subjecting them to the abuse and neglect that she did for all those years? When Kelly dropped them off, she did have the forethought to supply them with a bag of supplies that they may need. But if you think it was soap or shampoo or some type of cleaner, you would be wrong. She gave them a bag with 3 items in it. The items consisted of trash bags, Febreze, and gloves. And that bag was left with the kids back in 2020 when she left them there. There had been no other supplies given to them after that. And these children were most likely neglected before even being left in this home because they didn't know how to flush a toilet or brush their teeth when they were found and taken to the hospital. And how did this go on for so long? Did they not have other family members who were wondering where they were? It was said that when people did ask about the children, Kelly would tell them that they were at the babysitter's house. So for 5 years, she said this and no one wondered anything? No one ever wanted to see the kids and didn't think it was strange that they were never with their mother? Everyone failed these children, and that includes the school system. I understand that it was during COVID, so schools were closed and everyone was staying isolated. So it might have taken a little longer to realize that these children were missing. But once they didn't come back to school, why wasn't anyone concerned? The sheriff said that they might have been able to help the three children sooner if school code required more action from school officials to reach out to law enforcement if they noticed that a student was missing for a significant amount of time with no explanation. Sheriff Bouchard told reporters that a school district received a request for records from another school in Pontiac, but it was never verified that the children moved to the new school district. When they didn't show up to the new school, they were removed from enrollment, and that was it. No one bothered to check and see where they were or if they were okay. Sheriff Bouchard said it best when he said, quote, "No one knew that they were nowhere," end quote. Everyone failed these children. Authorities found Kelly living somewhere else in Pontiac, only 6 minutes away from her abandoned kids. I'm not sure if she did this for a boyfriend or what her reasoning was, but regardless, there is no reason that she could give that would suffice. When it comes down to it, she is a sorry excuse for a mother and doesn't deserve the title. She cares about herself, and I believe her children were in the way of the lifestyle she wanted to live. What's crazy is that the authorities talked to the person that owned the home where Kelly had been staying, and Kelly had told her that the children were with their father. Their father did want them, but she wouldn't let him have them. She would rather abuse and neglect them than give them to someone who actually wanted them and cared about them. In my opinion, Kelly is worried about what people would think of her. So if she gave her kids to their father or another family member because she didn't want them, she might look like a shitty mother. So instead, let's just lock them up in an abandoned apartment and make them live in squalor and tell everyone that they're with the babysitter. That way, Kelly doesn't have to give up her Mother of the Year image. And this person that Kelly was living with also said that Kelly was very loving and attentive to the kids in this person's family whenever they came over to the house to visit. Kelly would play with them, take them places, and treat them to ice cream, things she never did with her own children. When questioned as to why they never tried to leave and get help, the boy told authorities that they had been too scared to leave the house. I wonder what Kelly said to those children to make them so scared that they wouldn't leave the house and try to get help. However, when children are abused from the time they are toddlers, then it wouldn't be that hard to control them because that's all they know, especially if they were threatened with punishments and withholding of food. I was also wondering how the neighbors didn't smell anything. I mean, when you see the photos, which I will post on the Victim's Voice Facebook page, you will know that there's no way that place didn't smell and that it was downright toxic. The people who went in to clean it out had to wear hazmat suits because of the putrid smell in the air and the fear of toxic fumes from the bodily waste that covered the home. I did find an interview of someone who was there that day that the children were found, and they said that when they walked up to the door, they didn't smell anything. It was once the door was opened that the smell came rushing out. I wish they would make this sorry excuse of a human being live in that filthy house and give her a loaf of bread once a week. Because even jail, which is where she currently resides on a $250 million bond, is cleaner than the place she left her kids. And even though jail may be disgusting, she will still get 3 meals a day, unlike what her children got for the last 5 years. Oh, and she also won't have to sleep on pizza boxes. She will get an actual mat to sleep on, which may not be the most comfortable, but I bet her kids would have loved to have one to sleep on instead of cold, hard, greasy pizza boxes. After the children were found, they were treated at the hospital and are said to be making great progress. They were treated, cleaned up, given fresh clothing, and something to eat. The Oakland County Sheriff's Department has a comfort dog unit, which were sent in to help with the kids' trauma and emotional distress. After being released from the hospital, they were being looked after by CPS and are now living with a family member. Since her arrest, Kelly has been in trouble again and had all her communications from jail seized for at least a week. The Office of the Prosecuting Attorney stated that jail records show Kelly Bryant called the children's caregiver 10 times between March 8th and March 12th of 2025 to discuss her criminal case, which violated her no contact order. They say Bryant had other inmates in jail call her children's caregiver on her behalf. I hope no matter what happens that these three kids are not ever separated. I think staying together will be detrimental for their recovery, as they have a bond that will last a lifetime after experiencing what they have experienced together. And I hope Kelly Bryant gets what she deserves. When there are any updates in this case, I will be sure to let you know. For photos from this episode, check out the Victim's Voice on Facebook and come back next week for a new case. Until then, stay safe and peace out.